Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi! Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
The news about the economy continues just to be very, very, very good. And it's finally percolating through the average voter, despite the media trying to jam it with all the negative information they can find, and some they can't find and they just make up.
Sure.
But the latest Economist YouGov survey from February 6th to 9th shows 26% of Americans, the largest share, said inflation is the most important issue. Another 13% cite jobs. But when they ask people, are things getting better or worse, Americans say by 13 points, 49 to 36, that they believe the economy will rise over the next 6 months. A complete reversal from the Gallup survey in April, and in that survey Americans said by 10 points they expect that economic growth to decline. The same goes for the stock market. In April 25, voters said by a massive 29-point margin, 58 to 29, they thought the stock market would decline over the next 6 months. Now Americans say by 2 to 1, 50 to 25, they expect stocks to rise over the next 6 months. The inflation numbers for July 26 look a lot better than they have looked in the Biden era, moving from December 26 to mid-27, unbelievable, indicating a real slowdown, if not the end, of inflation. In fact, the government has calculated that given the rise in wages and the decline in inflation, real income, that is after inflation income, is actually up for the first time.
You know, Dick, we always talk about how we get this type of message out because our audience, you know, we're preaching to the choir. I think right here is where we all, the people that are listening right now, need to talk about this more to get it out. This is what's not going to get out, and this is what we need for the midterms. I think people just really need to just speak what you just said.
Yeah, they need to share their own personal experiences.
Right.
The cost of eggs is down 30%. The gasoline is down from in the $4 range to the high $3.
Right. In other words, my point that I'm making is the only way this is going to get out to, let's say, swing voters, independents, people that aren't listening to conservative, is if people talk about it when they go to a restaurant or when they go out and they talk to their friends that they think are in the middle. This has to be talked about. That's what I'm getting at.
Just as I predicted that Trump would run in 24, carry all the swing states, and win the popular vote, I now feel able to predict that he will win the midterms, taking both the House and the Senate. He'll shatter the century-long tradition that the president's party loses the midterms. In 1998, the Republicans overreached in the Lewinsky scandal, alienated the public by trying to impeach Clinton, and then the Republicans kept Congress. And in 2002, in the aftermath of 9/11, they also kept Congress because of 9/11. But it's going to happen again. Both houses will stay Republican. Why? The economy is doing very well. Very little inflation and 4% growth. Peter Navarro even predicts 5% growth. The University of Michigan reports increases in consumer confidence for each of the past 4 months. And that's not really an economic statistic, it's a public opinion statistic. Democrats are committing suicide by trying to stop the funding of ICE, insisting on emasculating it with warrant requirements and endangering its agents by banning face masks. Trump has done the near impossible, reducing violent crime by deporting the criminals. Trump seems determined to exert military power without entanglements. Decapitation strikes aiming squarely at the Ayatollah. Bombing, economic pressure are the way to go in Iran. Don't invade a country of more than 90 million people. And don't forget no scandals at the federal level and a continued focus on massive welfare fraud in Democratic states like California and Minnesota. So for all these reasons, I think 2026 will be another good year for Trump. Now, is Roxana on?
Is Roxana on the line there, Matt? Is Roxana on the line? Okay, so we'll jump over.
Okay, we'll come back to her in a minute.
Uh-huh.
Now, the Supreme Court invalidated Trump's tariffs, but only because of the statutory justification he used for them. Under other jurisdiction, using other statutes, Trump can continue to impose the tariffs. Trump's rationale was that tariffs were necessary to stimulate the economy. But the good news is that very similar tariffs could be levied by a president under Section 232 for national security, 301 for unfair trade practices, 201 safeguards, and Section 122 balance of payments surcharges, Section 338 retaliatory duties, and so on.
So there's at least 4 or 5 other sections to go to.
In the interim, the president could use full IEEPA embargoes.
Which is International Emergency Economic Power Act.
And that's been limited by the Supreme Court. But the interesting thing about the court decision is it did not say embargoes were wrong. It simply said tariffs were wrong under this statute. So you can tell a country you can't sell anything in the United States. There's a complete embargo on you. And that's legal. On the other hand, if we say we're going to tax you 25%, that's illegal.
And the president could do that without Congress?
Yep, absolutely. So the president should use the full IEEPA embargoes while due diligence is performed under other explicit tariff statutes. Block trade, if necessary, with countries who are harming America, while the new tariffs are drawn up and go through the process Congress laid out. Then Congress should revise the IEEPA to explicitly restore tariff authority for the president. The implication at the moment is that a president can just suspend all trade with a sanctioned country under IEEPA, but not levy tariffs to achieve similar goals. It's ridiculous, the Supreme Court decision. The court's basically saying that tariffs are not an exercise of foreign policy, and they concede that the president has complete control over foreign policy, but say that tariffs are not an example of that, like a declaration of war would be, but a tariff is not. And as a result, it so circumscribes the president's power, renders him increasingly harmless to other nations. But fortunately, there are 4 or 5 backup provisions that can be used for the next year while Congress gets its act together and comes up with other ways to impose the tariffs.
Where'd you get that from? Was it Navarro that told you about this extra stuff?
I don't know where I got it from, but it's very clear.
Right.
The other alternatives can be used here.
Good.
Now, there's a very interesting proposal that's floating around, and the rumor is that Trump may want to use the idea to expand the idea of Trump accounts. That are the accounts babies have, where you put them in the fund the day they're born.
$1,000.
Yeah, and it multiplies as their life goes on.
Right.
He may want to expand that idea by allowing young workers to put some or all of their payroll tax payments into a personal account where the money is invested in an index fund of 60% stocks and 40% bonds. The plan would overnight turn a tax for workers into an investment fund that earns much higher returns.
So this would be what they would pay in tax anyway? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, it has no effect on the taxes. It would take the money that they now pay in taxes,
right,
and pay it into a savings account,
right. That's what
for
I'm saying.
them,
right.
That goes up substantially.
Amazing.
And this was proposed years ago by
Steve Forbes,
Arthur Laffer, and Steve Moore. But now they've sent a new proposal to Trump, urging him to go back to this proposal. Steve Forbes ran for president on this idea 30 years ago, updating the numbers, and discovered that virtually every worker upon retirement would receive a monthly benefit from a personal account 3 times larger than what Social Security will pay out. The Wall Street Journal estimates the average worker will get $300,000 of Social Security benefits in retirement. In other words, instead of taking the money that we pay in Social Security tax and investing it to the extent we do in things that are very low return, like treasury bonds and stuff like that, it would free workers to put that money into the stock market and to other areas that are growing exponentially. And it'll completely change their whole retirement posture. And I think that would be an enormous change. Bush proposed something similar, and it got defeated by the Democrats. And as a result, people are now getting only a third of what they should on Social Security. But without the fear factor, being able to do this would be enormous, and what you could do is transform babies into potential millionaires, and then transform retiring workers into actual millionaires. Incredible proposal and incredible idea.
Wow, it really is amazing.
Now, the other thing that's going on is that Florida is considering abolishing all property taxes except for schools. The Florida House just voted to abolish all non-school property taxes for homeowners. The vote was 80-30. It puts a constitutional amendment on the 26th ballot this year, if the Senate approves, and applies to homesteaded homes, real relief for Florida families. It's huge tax freedom for everyday Floridians. No more getting hammered on property taxes. DeSantis-style leadership is making it happen. Blue states could never do it. Homeowners keep more money in their pockets. The Trump momentum is spreading in red states.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. Is Roxana around?
No, she's looking for her phone.
Okay, good. All right, we'll do her after the break.
Peter Navarro.
Yeah.
Want to talk about Peter? This is great. Peter Navarro says data centers must pay their own way. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Dr. Navarro, this is him speaking. What needs to happen? He's talking to Maria Borderomo. Maria, is that all of these data centers data center builders, Meta on down, need to pay for all of the costs. Emphasize on that. They need to pay, not only pay for the electricity that they're using on the grid, but they have to pay for the resiliency that they're affecting as well. They need to pay for the water, so there's action here going forward where we force them to internalize the cost. You can't be a Luddite like Bernie. I mean, Bernie's one of the great Luddites, but whatever you have to do is to make sure the American people are not hurt. So, and Maria was saying something like rob, replicate, and replace, but that's something else. Yeah, then he go on.
The AI centers are imposing a tremendous external costs that are now being absorbed by the American taxpayer. And that's wrong, or the American ratepayer.
Or the community, the local community people.
You see your electric bill rise dramatically. And it's not that you turned the air conditioning on too high or that you used it for too long. It's that there's a data center a couple of miles away from you that's eating up all the electricity that should be going to your house. And what Navarro is saying, that as part of trying to control the cost of living, you tell a data center, bring your own electricity, bring your own water, bring your own power. And that's the right way to do it.
Navarro's also saying we're in the best economy since '98. Navarro, absolutely. This is him speaking again. It's the perfect Trump economy in 2026. It's what we call gridlock economy. The last time we saw what we're seeing now.
Goldilocks economy.
Oh, right. Goldilocks. Right. Sorry about that. And we're seeing now we haven't seen this since '98. And, right, we're seeing stock markets over $50,000. That's Wall Street. But we're also seeing the rising real wages. That's Main Street. We're seeing a return to manufacturing. We're seeing strong growth. And it's all happening in a disinflation environment, where I like that, a disinflation environment where we're at or near Fed target. We're near Fed target, and it's really extraordinary what's happening, Maria. This is him speaking again to Maria. You and I, your day job during the work week, and at these micro indicators, wait a second. You and I, your day job during the week is looking at these macro indicators. We've had the job report come in with blowout numbers. We had the ISM manufacturing index, which is dear to my heart because I'm the Council for Trade and Manufacturing. That's showing a very robust final jump in manufacturing CPI, as you just reported. Look, and this is happening because of tariffs, not in spite of them, as the critics would say, because if there's any tariff inflation, it would show up in the core. It's simply not doing that. So everything is hitting on all major cylinders, and the best is yet to come.
What an amazing statement about the economy.
Right.
From Navarro, who knows exactly what's going on.
I like that he uses inflation-free environment.
Yeah.
I love that.
He is, and it is amazing. This is the first time in decades that we've had real wages increasing, which means wages are going up faster than inflation, and therefore you're actually getting more money in your pocket. Well, that's happening. We also have good news on immigration.
ICE Director Todd Lyons told the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee last week that there are approximately 1.6 million illegal aliens in the United States, with final orders of removal issued by the DOJ immigration judges. The director reported that half of these, approximately 800,000, have criminal convictions. Lyons added that the 1.6 million illegal aliens with final orders of removal include nearly 17,000 in the state of Minnesota.
So the issue is, of course, what do we do with them while we're holding them for them to wait online to get on the airplane to get out of here?
Yeah, right.
So Trump and ICE are proposing 8 mega centers, each with a capacity for 10,000 detainees. Costs $40 billion, and they'll be completed by the end of November. So we will have places to put them other than on Main Street. But we may not need it, because the statistics are showing that self-deportation now is happening in 1/3 of the cases.
The Dick Morris Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ employ our neighbors, and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.